For over 5 decades, Ron Howard has been the poster child of decency in Hollywood. Calm, polite, endlessly patient. The red-haired kid from The Andy Griffith Show grew into one of the industry's most respected filmmakers. He's been called Hollywood's nice guy, the kind of director everyone supposedly loves to work with. But behind that steady smile lies another story, one he doesn't tell in interviews. Because even the kindest man in Hollywood has seen darkness behind the camera. In quiet conversations and old interviews, Howard hinted at 6 collaborations that tested his patience more than any others. 6 actors whose egos, tempers, or pure unpredictability pushed him to his breaking point. These weren't small misunderstandings or creative spats. These were the moments that shaped his entire philosophy as a director. Tonight, we reveal the 6 most evil actors Ron Howard ever faced, not because they were villains on screen, but because of who they became when the cameras stopped rolling. And trust me, it starts with the man who once played his father.
Andy Griffith, the father figure who turned cold. Long before Apollo 13 or A Beautiful Mind, Ron Howard was a child star on The Andy Griffith Show. To America, they were the perfect father and son duo, Sheriff Andy Taylor and his wide-eyed son, Opie. Off camera, at least at first, that illusion felt real. Griffith treated little Ron like a protege, guiding him gently through each scene. But something shifted as the years went on. The show's tone changed, the scripts got tighter, and the weight of being the lead began to wear on Griffith. The easygoing charm that made him famous started to crack. By the time Howard hit his teens, he began noticing a different side to his TV father. Short-tempered, controlling, and impatient. Crew members whispered about his unpredictable moods. Frances Bevere, who played Aunt Bee, openly despised him. Even Don Knotts, Griffith's closest friend, admitted he could be terrifying when provoked. Howard, still a kid, learned to read the room before speaking. He once said, "You learn early how to navigate dominant personalities, especially when someone can turn on charm for a take, then shut it off completely between scenes." The breaking point came in the final season. Howard, growing more confident, started asking creative questions about his character. Harmless curiosity from a teen actor who genuinely cared about the show. But Griffith didn't like being challenged, even by his fictional son. The tension never exploded publicly, but everyone on set felt it. And when the series ended, something remarkable happened. They never worked together again. Barely spoke, barely appeared together in public. When Griffith died in 2012, Howard's tribute was short and careful. Respectful, but emotionally distant. It said everything without saying much at all. That experience burned a lesson into him early. Fame doesn't equal kindness, and the warmth audiences see on screen should be real behind the scenes too. But that wasn't the last time a mentor would test his patience.
Shelley Long, the perfectionist who couldn't share control. Fast forward to 1982. Ron Howard was no longer Opie. He was a young director chasing his first big break with Night Shift. The movie had everything riding on it. A major studio budget, a cast that could make or break his career, and the chance to prove himself as more than a child star. Enter Shelley Long. Smart, witty, and already gaining momentum in Hollywood, she was perfect on paper. But from day one, Howard realized she wasn't here to be directed, she was here to control. While Henry Winkler and newcomer Michael Keaton thrived on improvisation and chaos, Long was the opposite. Every line, every gesture, every emotion had to be precise, exactly how she imagined it. Crew members later recalled her constant questioning. Why am I standing here? What's my motivation in this line? At first, Howard tried to collaborate, but soon every scene turned into a negotiation. He stayed calm, always calm, but it was clear the production was starting to crack under the pressure. One story from the set described a day when Long refused to shoot a scene until a rewrite was made. Hours ticked by. The crew waited. Howard quietly sat on set trying to hold things together without embarrassing anyone. When she finally agreed to film, the tension was so thick you could feel it through the screen. Years later, Howard said something subtle but revealing. Some actors come to set with their mind made up. That's difficult when you're trying to capture something magical in the moment. He never called her out by name. He didn't have to. Everyone knew. Shelley Long defended herself years later. "I come prepared. Some directors mistake questions for challenges. But the truth was, for a young Ron Howard, it was his first real lesson in creative ego. That some actors don't want direction, they want validation." It wouldn't be the last time he faced that, because next came a storm he could barely contain.
Tom Sizemore, Chaos in Human Form. In 1996, Ron Howard was at the peak of his powers, directing the high-stakes thriller Ransom. He had Mel Gibson, Rene Russo, a big studio budget. Everything was lined up perfectly. Until Tom Sizemore walked onto the set. Sizemore was known for his intensity. A gifted actor, yes, but unpredictable, volatile, and sometimes dangerous to be around. By then, his reputation was infamous. Late arrivals, erratic moods, and rumors of serious personal issues that followed him from project to project. Howard, famous for his calm leadership, suddenly found himself directing a ticking bomb. Crew members recalled how Sizemore would show up late, sometimes unprepared, sometimes agitated. Scenes had to be reshot again and again because his energy shifted wildly between takes. Howard tried to adapt, quietly rearranging schedules and adjusting scenes to keep things under control, but chaos spreads quickly on a movie set, and even Howard's patience has limits. One assistant director later revealed that during one particularly chaotic day, Howard simply stopped production. No yelling, no dramatic outburst, just quiet authority. He told everyone to take a break and made it clear that the set would only move forward when professionalism returned. It worked, but the damage was done. The experience left a mark. Years later, when asked about difficult actors, Howard said carefully, "Sometimes the challenge isn't directing the scene, it's protecting the environment the scene needs to exist." When Tom Sizemore passed away in 2023, Howard said nothing. No post, no statement, no tribute. For a man known for kindness, that silence said everything. But Hollywood chaos comes in many forms, and sometimes it wears an Oscar winner's face. Russell Crowe, the genius who fought his own director. By 2001, Ron Howard had found his rhythm. He was a respected veteran director, thoughtful, calm, and deeply collaborative. Then came A Beautiful Mind, starring one of the most volatile talents of the early 2000s, Russell Crowe. Crowe was a powerhouse, passionate, intense, and uncompromising. And while that fire created magic on screen, it also sparked endless tension behind it. From the first week, Ron Howard realized he wasn't directing Russell Crowe, he was negotiating with him. Crowe questioned camera angles, rewrites, even lighting decisions. He wasn't rude, but he was relentless. Every note turned into a debate. One assistant director said, "Russell showed up every day like he was going to war, not with Ron, but with the process itself." Howard, ever composed, let Crowe vent, argue, and challenge, but he never lost control. He guided the chaos instead of fighting it. The two men developed a strange rhythm. Crowe's volatility fueled the film's emotional power, while Howard's calm steadied the ship. The result? A Beautiful Mind swept the Oscars. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor. But when asked years later if he'd ever work with Crowe again, Howard smiled politely and said, "Some collaborations are meant to be once in a lifetime." That was his way of saying, never again. Crowe, for his part, called Howard a thoughtful director, but couldn't resist adding, "Sometimes he wants things too clean, too safe."
real art isn't safe. Howard didn't reply. He didn't have to. For him, art wasn't about chaos, it was about consistency. And that belief would be tested again, this time by a living legend who treated rules like suggestions.
Marlon Brando, the fallen titan. It was the mid-1990s, and Ron Howard was offered the opportunity every director dreams of, to work with Marlon Brando, the man who changed acting forever. But by then, Brando wasn't the fiery young genius from A Streetcar Named Desire. He was unpredictable, erratic, and openly contemptuous of Hollywood's system. Howard saw it as a challenge. If he could direct Brando successfully, he'd prove he could direct anyone. What he got instead was a masterclass in chaos. From the start, Brando refused to learn his lines. He wanted cue cards placed around the set, taped to props, furniture, even other actors. He'd vanish for hours without warning, show up late, and demand the script be rewritten on the spot. Howard's sets are known for calm professionalism. Brando's presence turned that calm into complete disorder. Crew members described days wasted waiting for the legend to appear, only for him to arrive and decide he didn't like his character anymore. At one point, he stopped filming mid-scene, announced he'd reimagined his role overnight, and demanded they start the entire sequence over from scratch. Howard did his best to keep the production alive, but everyone knew it was collapsing. In private, his patience was tested more than ever before. One crew member later said, "You could see it in Ron's face, the frustration. He wouldn't yell, but you could tell Brando had broken something in him." Eventually, the project fell apart entirely. Howard never blamed Brando publicly, but the truth circulated quietly around Hollywood. Years later, when asked about working with legends, Howard gave a telling answer. "Some earn their reputation through the work. Others earn it through their behavior. It's important to know the difference." After that experience, Howard vowed never again to let any actor, no matter how iconic, derail the work of hundreds of people. But not all his challenges came from chaos. Some came from friendship and fame.
Henry Winkler, the friend who stole the spotlight. Before he was a director, Ron Howard spent his early 20s on one of the most beloved TV shows of all time, Happy Days. He played Richie Cunningham, the clean-cut, all-American kid. Henry Winkler played Arthur the Fonz Fonzarelli, the cool sidekick in a leather jacket. At first, they were great friends. Howard admired Winkler's energy, and the two built genuine chemistry on screen. But when Happy Days exploded in popularity, something shifted. The sidekick became the star. Overnight, Fonzie was everywhere, in commercials, magazines, and network promotions. What had begun as Richie's show suddenly revolved entirely around Winkler. Writers began rewriting scripts to center on Fonzie. The show's promotional materials dropped Howard from the spotlight altogether. Howard later admitted, "There were times I questioned my place on the show. I didn't resent Henry personally, but I resented how the narrative shifted around me. Behind the scenes, it hurt. He'd carried the show since episode 1, only to see his role slowly fade. And while Winkler himself wasn't malicious, fame can create distance even between friends." The experience became a turning point. Howard realized that television, like fame itself, has no loyalty. It follows whatever keeps viewers watching. In one later interview, he put it bluntly, "When a character becomes iconic, everything else adjusts, whether you like it or not." Still, Howard handled it with grace. He left Happy Days quietly to pursue directing, never bad-mouthing Winkler. And ironically, years later, Winkler admitted his regret. "Ron should have been treated better. I didn't understand at the time how much it affected him." But for Howard, the lesson was already learned. Even in friendship, Hollywood can turn competition into conflict. And after facing legends, rebels, perfectionists, and old friends, he'd finally learned what truly mattered behind the camera.
Howard's breaking point. Lessons from the darkness. Across 5 decades, Ron Howard has worked with nearly every type of personality Hollywood can produce.
the kind, the difficult, the unstable, and the dangerous. What sets him apart isn't that he avoids conflict, it's that he learns from it. Every bad experience became a rule. From Andy Griffith, he learned that warmth on screen means nothing without respect off it. From Shelley Long, he learned that perfection without trust destroys collaboration. From Tom Sizemore, that talent means nothing without stability. From Russell Crowe, that passion needs balance. From Brando, that legends can ruin their own legacies. And from Winkler, that fame tests even the strongest friendships. Through it all, Howard refined his philosophy. Kindness isn't weakness, it's control. He doesn't shout, slam doors, or throw fits. He doesn't need to. His calm is power. And that calm built one of the longest, most successful careers in Hollywood history. Those who've worked with him say the same thing. Ron Howard's sets feel like families, safe, structured, and built on mutual respect. Because he's seen what happens when they aren't. He's seen how ego poisons creativity, how fame isolates people, and how unchecked power can destroy entire productions. That's why, decades later, actors still line up to work with him. Because they know, under the kindness, under the patience, under the smile, Ron Howard has already faced the worst Hollywood has to offer and survived.
Behind every calm leader lies a storm they've learned to control. Ron Howard's story isn't about grudges, it's about boundaries. He discovered that real professionalism means knowing when to walk away, when to stay silent, and when to protect the people who are still trying to make good art. So maybe the real secret is this: Hollywood doesn't break the nicest people, it just teaches them who deserves their kindness. Even the nicest man in Hollywood has limits, and these 6 actors helped him find them. What do you think? Were these legends misunderstood, or did their fame truly twist them into something darker? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories of Hollywood's hidden rivalries, broken friendships, and the real price of perfection behind the silver screen.